Okay, let's kick it off.
Cool.
Thank you everybody for attending. This is our part of our Local Line webinar series. We do these once a month for sure, sometimes twice a month if we're in the fall or the winter, but certainly only once a month during the summer. My name is Cole. I'm the founder, the CEO at Local Line. I'm really excited to run this webinar today, which is all about leveraging the right reports in your business to help your farm or your hub be successful. I have a particularly vested interest in making sure that our farms and our hubs are successful, because if you're not, then I'm not successful, or our business sucks. So I'm really interested in what you all have to say, and I'm really excited to dive a little bit deeper. On the call with us, we're going to get into some deeper introductions, but I'm going to go around quickly and just introduce everybody. We have Melissa from Bluegrass Beef in Kentucky. They sell grass fed and grass finished as well. Beef, mostly to consumers. I don't know if do you do any wholesale stuff, Melissa, or it's just to like households?
No, it's just households.
Yeah, just households. We have Celine from Juniper Farm, which is in Quebec up here in Canada, and they do a produce CSA. And then we have Will joining us from Michigan. Will works with Argus Farm Stop, who is a sizable food hub in Michigan that works with how many farmers? Sorry, is it Will that you guys are working with?
We have probably about 120 active farmers and probably closer to 300 or so producers that we work with.
Okay, so one or two here and there. Great. Awesome. Okay, so that's who's joining us today. Let's get into a little bit more of a detailed introduction. If we can start in the order that I just did, Melissa, Celine, and then Will. Melissa, if you could just give us the background on who you are, your family is, how long you guys have been doing this. If you remember how long you've been a Local Line customer. I know you've been with us for some time, but if we can just get an overview of the business, that'd be great.
Sure. My name is Melissa Ballard. As Cole said, my husband and I raise grass-fed beef here we're in Shelbyville, Kentucky, which is kind of uniquely located in an area we call the Golden Triangle. It's between Louisville, Lexington, and Cincinnati. So we're in an area that has a lot of customers in a relatively small area of space. It's our scale of our operation. It's my husband and I are the only employees. I have some seasonal farm market help. We finish between 50 to 55 steers a year. So we're not a huge operation, but we're not tiny either. We do sell specifically to households. I don't do any wholesale in terms of restaurants or groceries. I'm trying to capture all those retail dollars. And then we do kind of our model is I sell at some farmers markets too right now. And then we do on-farm pickups as well. We're looking at adding delivery potentially this fall. We see just like a huge opportunity for that in this area, specifically considering our location and everything. And we've been with Local Line, oh golly, it's been a while. It's been several years, but we really, about 4 years probably.
3, 4,
we really started hitting it hard when COVID happened, and Local Line saved all of our rear ends when everything hit the fan. Yeah, so that's us. We've been in operation. Our business has been in operation since 2011.
Excellent. That's a great overview. Celine, to you, same thing. How long you've been around for? Any sense of scale on the business so that we can help, calibrate?
We're a bit different than Melissa, but so I am not the owner of the farm. I am the head administrator, but I am the Local Line person around here. So Juniper Farm has actually been in business since 2006. I joined their team in 2017, and I've been here ever since, and I don't think they'll ever let me leave. The farm itself has grown. It used to be just produce and eggs for individuals, mostly CSA members, or people would come to what we refer to as the shed, where the vegetables would sit and people would just put money in a box, what they thought they could pay for carrots. Since then, we've come a long way. We've got an on-site farm store that sells all of our products and other farms products in the area. We also produce our own sauerkraut, which is now done offsite, but it used to be done literally beneath my feet. And we also sell to restaurants and retailers. So for where we are located, it's funny you should mention the Golden Triangle. It's kind of the same thing around Ottawa, which is the capital. There's a very strong agricultural presence on the outside. So Ottawa is the big city, but then outside of that is all farms. And there's a very big, I'm going to say like food scene happening in Ottawa right now, where people want to buy local, restaurants all want to buy local, they want local meat, local produce, whenever they can get it. And of course, with our northern climate, we're kind of limited to the season. But yeah, that's pretty much where we are right now. We've been with Local Line since COVID. So 2020, we switched, and that was mostly because we previously had our own in-house software for order fulfillment that did the job, but very poorly. So we needed something better. And we noticed our orders increased exponentially when COVID hit, especially with all the shortages in the grocery stores and with wholesalers. So we had to make the switch, and I have to say we're quite happy that we did, especially me. And yeah, and now we're on 2.0, which is even better. I'm over the moon, tickled pink, happy with it.
I shouldn't be quizzing you guys. Like, I have the dates that you've become customers like right in front of me. I could also just I could also just say them.
It's okay.
That's
It's
that's
like,
a great
I hope
overview.
I get this right.
I know, that's okay. Well, here, Jan 2021. That's in front of me here. So that's the actual date. Okay, Will. Last but not least, over to you. Same kind of overview. You let us know you guys work with between 100 active to 300 farms throughout the year. I mean, it's a sizable operation. So talk to us about the scale that the business is at today, and how long it's been around, how long you've been there, and even what your role is would also be really helpful, because I know you play a really specific role in the actual operations of the hub, and you look at a lot of these reports on a weekly basis for the fulfillment.
Yeah, so I worked at Argus Farm Stop, which has been in operation, I think, 7 to 8 years now. We're a consignment grocery store. Our owner calls it a 7-day-a-week farmers market. So we work with a number of farmers and ranchers, artisan good makers, and we work with them on a consignment basis. So they get 70% of the sale price, and we keep 30% of their operational costs. We're a health RISI, which is a limited liability, low profit company. So we do get some help from that, but everything we do is mission oriented, which is to grow the local agricultural scene. So our online operations, which I'm the manager of online operations, includes our online grocery store, which is hosted through Local Line. We also have a weekly produce box, a weekly flower subscription, and we do some wholesale. That is on track to do $250,000 in sales this year. Previous 2 years was quite a bit higher. During the pandemic, we shut down one of our grocery stores. We have 2 locations. We shut one of them down and turned it solely into order fulfillment. I believe we had Local Line predates me, so I believe I've been with the company going on 3 years now, and I believe we had it maybe 2 years before that, so I'd say around 5 years. Prior to the pandemic, our goal with Local Line was really to target chefs and wholesale accounts. We work with some schools, some restaurants, and a few other institutions. And at the beginning of the pandemic, I think our first sale was like March 16th, we pivoted that site to become a retail grocery operation. And there was a while there we were doing $7,000 to $10,000 a day in sales, and 100+ orders a day. Ran myself pretty ragged. We've come down sizably from that. We're kind of looking at what the future of online grocery ordering is going to be, as every grocery store. But we still do a fair amount of sales. We average about $1,000 a day in grocery sales, and then another probably $1,000 a day, $800 a day in property stock sales. We have a number of pretty sized sale accounts. I think that's all.
That's a three really good overviews. You guys have been a customer, it looks like, since the fall of 2019. At least that's what it's saying in the system. Excellent. Okay, and Will, I might even see if I don't know if you can get closer to the mic on the next go around. It might it might be just my AirPods, but just in the odd event that it is coming through a little bit crackled for everybody else. That'd be great. Okay, so thank you for the introductions. We're going to talk about 3 things today's webinar. I want to talk about the weekly process. Number 1, I want to go really detailed on everybody's weekly process. The week starts Monday, it ends Sunday. I want to know what happens when the store opens, when it closes. You got to pull the reports. What report are you pulling? How are you manipulating it? How are you packing it? I want to know start to finish what that means. And then after that, we're going to take a little bit of a zoom out. We're going to look at monthly. We're going to talk more about the business metrics. How do you know at the end of every month if the business is working or not? What reports are you looking at? How often are you changing strategies or changing things? Maybe it's seasonally, maybe it's monthly. Hopefully it's not, maybe more frequently than that, but we don't know. Then at the end, we'll just, I don't know, talk about other random fun crap and reports that I've heard other farmers, do that I thought was super interesting, or, there's some pretty interesting ones that we have in the local line reports section as well. So we can talk about some of those. So let's keep the order then, if that's okay. Melissa, weekly process. When does the store open? When does it close? And then after it closes, after you're like, all right, my order lead time is passed, I've got these orders. What is it exactly that you do?
So I have a feeling other small-ish farmers can relate to this. Our store is never closed. It's like open all the time. So right. So basically I have certain days that I do the on-farm pickups, which would be Tuesday through Friday and some Saturdays, and then our farmers markets on Saturday. So on Monday,
so every day, sorry, you go Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, you're offering pickup at the farm.
Correct. Off our front porch on farm. And because we do have a relatively small number of orders at this point, I can manage that on my own. If we grow into, and I'm constantly reassessing, one of the other benefits of being as small as we are, we can pivot super quickly and make adjustments as needed because it's just me and my husband. So in general, and stop me as we go along if you need some clarification, Cole.
Yeah.
I will I'll run a report on Monday, like a pick list and a pack list for the week. Based on the number of reports that are in it. Sometimes or based on the number of orders that are in. If it's just a very small number of orders, I'll just print an invoice for each individual order and I'll go ahead and pack the orders for the week, the farm pickups, Tuesday through Friday.
How do you pack them? What's the difference in the number of orders between when you would just print invoices versus when you'd pull a pick list? Like, are you saying if you had 3 orders, you'd just print them, or even if you had 10, you'd print invoices, or like when do you pull a pick list?
It's pretty ambiguous. If I look at the orders, if I kind of do a quick visual scan of, okay, I've got these orders. They look super easy, like just a little ground beef and some steaks. I can manage this without pulling a pick list. But if I have, 5, I may have a small number, like 5 orders, but if they've got a lot of items on there, it just helps keep me organized to go ahead and pull that pick list. I can pull all the inventory at once for all the orders and then pack the individual orders accordingly with everything.
It's almost not even like it's the number of orders. It's like the number of products in the order.
Correct.
That sort of dictates. Okay. All right.
Yes. The number of SKUs. And so it helps keep me organized too, because occasionally I'll think, oh, well, there's a ribeye steak on here. If you miss that little, if it's not 1, if it's 4, if I pack my orders and I come to the end and there's like leftover product, then you realize you've made a screw up somewhere and you need to go back and recheck those orders. So it's helpful to pull that pick list if there's just a lot of products that are going into the week. And then I have a separate freezer storage where I can store those just kind of and bring them out for each day. I have to reassess though, because our store is always open, I may get an order on Tuesday for a pickup on Wednesday or Thursday. And so, right. And I've made that hard on myself. I should probably reassess that and put some more.
Can't make it too easy.
That's right.
Can't make it too easy.
Gotta keep me on my toes.
Got it.
So, and then Friday nights, I will pack the orders for the farmers markets on Saturday. So I wait because some of those orders come in all week long. And even, on Friday during the day, I will allow people to order for the next day market on Saturday. Because if they're like me, they don't plan ahead.
Oh yeah, nobody does. It'd be wonderful if all of your customers did, but yeah, no. Do you have a process for packing? You've got your orders, even for market day as an example, right? It's like, okay, I got to bring these, whatever it is, 20 boxes, right? What's your process? You grab a pick list, you get to the freezer. Do you have like my favorite is like the little the foldy table assembly line with the clothesline up top and
I love the clothesline.
Yeah.
I don't have that, but that is something I would like to implement. I mean, all seriousness aside, that is a super practical visual way to keep everything.
Yeah.
But I lay the things out. I'll have like 2 areas. I'll pull all the product into one area, and then I have my orders set out in another area, each one, and I'll pull from my pile that I've picked and put them into each individual order spot.
Are you using cubic boxes, or what are the size? Like, how are you packing the orders?
I should be, but I'm just making piles on my table or on my freezer, and getting in. If it's a quick one, I get it directly into a bag. And then, but yeah, sure. This is actually a good exercise for me because it's making me see the flaws in my packing strategy.
No, I don't think it's flaws. It's look, if it ain't broke, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So something's working. Okay, that's good. So you pull the pick list, you do the pack list. I'm just looking at my notes to make sure I've hit the questions that I want. Talk to me about the formatting of those reports. Do you use the format that just comes pre-built in Localine as you download it, or do you have to manipulate them in some way for your process?
I do. And I think because our scale, I do use the format that it comes in to clarify there. I think because our scale is so small, it works for us. Right. If we do expand, or as we continue to expand and maybe start to do more delivery, I may have to manipulate that a little bit, but it works. I have to change some sizes of cells on the Excel sheets as they come in and things like that, but that's super basic and it meets my needs for the most part.
Got it. Okay, last question, and then we'll go to Celine for her process. At the end of the week, how do you know if you had a successful week? Yeah. What are the things, even if you're not looking at a core report, but what's in your mind? Maybe it's that nobody had an issue with there was no order errors. Might be one of them, or maybe you got all your payment on time for once, or something, like whatever the things are. But how do you know at the end of a week, you're like, you know what, that was a good week, that was a successful week?
Yeah, no errors are a great week.
Yeah. Okay.
No
Okay.
errors.
No errors.
I didn't
Okay.
forget to send an order to the farmer's market. That those are successful things in my book.
Yeah.
But I have a certain number in my mind, income wise, because,
Okay.
and it's not order number, because we're talking, I mean, I may have someone that orders the whole cow. And that's one order, but it's a very substantial order. So I don't really go by order number. And again, I think that will change when we go to delivery, because you want some multiple delivery stops in an area. But I have a dollar amount that if I hit that dollar amount at the end of the week, I'm like, that was a good week. We did well this week.
The number of orders only makes sense as a proxy for success if your average order is pretty consistent. If your average order just sits between like maybe a 10% variance, like up or down on each side, then I think maybe we look at order and we look at efficiency of how those got packed and shipped. But exactly to your point, Melissa, somebody could order a pound of ground beef, they could order a cow. So the delta is so large that, I think that probably makes a lot of sense. It's like, look, I got an income number in my head, and this is what dictates a good week or bad week. Okay, got it.
There's also, this is kind of random, but it's just something that makes me happy when I see it come across. When I get a repeat customer and I see that name, like a repeat order, I'm like, oh, dang, okay, I did good, because they're coming back. And so that can be pulled from a report for sure. But it's just one of those little ring the bell. I got a repeat customer.
Self high five. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We have that report in Localine, the repeat customer rate. I think it's one of the most under leveraged, in my opinion, from like what I've seen from our customers. Are you doing anything to try to incent customers to return and come back, or?
I don't have
I mean, maybe the product speaks for itself, or
right. I don't have a specific like incentive program or anything like that, but I think that just moves in more into our marketing strategy. And I mean, it's a lot less expensive to retain customers than go out and acquire new customers. And so we really do focus on customer retention with our marketing strategy.
Got it. Excellent. Okay, time to move on. The time freaking flies in these webinars, I tell you. So Celine, let's build off of. Sorry, I'm noticing a quick Q&A here as well, and I don't know who. I'm also, forgive me, folks. I'm newer to this Zoom stuff. Okay, so I'm seeing some Q&A and even a chat. So for everybody who's here, like as an attendee, please feel free to use that throughout the webinar here. I'm going to go through them at the end. I do want to get through everything that we've got slotted right now, and then we're going to go, but feel free to just like pile them up and we'll come back to them after. Okay, so Celine, building on Melissa's process, let's start with your store. Is your store also open 24/7, 365?
Yes.
Okay.
Well, I have to kind of explain.
Sure.
I am managing an octopus every week.
Yeah.
So we have the Localine store that's available for restaurants and retailers. We also have a separate online store for individuals. But yes,
What?
I
didn't even know that. What gift?
This was before 2.0. This was before 2.0.
Are you kidding me? All right.
Yes, we had it before you. I'm
fix
sorry,
that.
Cole.
Yeah,
but the
yeah,
good
sure.
news is we do use Localine with it. I have figured out a way to make it work. So, yes, the restaurant and retail store is open all the time, but we do have specific delivery days and pickup days.
Talk to me about the days that you run the delivery for the restaurants and the grocers, because especially with restaurants, their storage space is like it's a broom closet, right? And they're always going through inventory. So how do you guys structure that?
Well, it's simple. That's why we have multiple delivery days. We plan it. It's normally Wednesdays and Fridays, but we do make exceptional deliveries on Tuesdays because that's normally when they're stocking up for the weekend, the big tourist push. It is an exceedingly complicated process, which is why we have Localine. Essentially, they're placing their own orders. When they do it, they're not contacting me. The retailers is absolutely different. Because there's so many people working in a store, people just don't do that. So we call them and take their order over the phone and put it into local line ourselves. They could do it.
When you call the retailer, who are you calling? You calling the produce manager, or like who do you call it?
We try to zero in on the produce manager or the person who makes the decision. Sometimes, like if it's a mom and pop store, for example, like we have one just down the road from us. It's one person who owns it, and the daughter and the son. So it doesn't matter. But let's say you're calling a big retail like a Sobeys. Yeah, that's different. And then there's a whole complicated process for that. But we've noticed with retailers, they don't like online platforms for some reason. We don't know why. We think it's because there's high turnover, and like the produce manager that was there 6 months ago leaves, and then the new one doesn't know what to do. So it's just easier for us to take the order over the phone. Some of them are good and will do it. I have to say, some of them will, but it's not a thing. Restaurants prefer that, especially with their crazy schedules. The chefs will place orders at like 11 o'clock at night. We don't have to be available. They'll just do what they need to. In terms of fulfilling their orders though, that's why I'm so grateful for Local Line. It is difficult because they'll change their menus, and sometimes they want extra stuff, or they want something sold in a different format. So I'll give you a perfect example. Tomatoes. We offer big wholesale things, 50 pounds of tomatoes, but some of them will say, oh, I've got a big catering gig and I need 500 pounds. Can you sell me 500 pounds? For special requests like that, yes. And I will run them through Local Line to give them an invoice and all that fun stuff. But the fact that I can control whether they can see it or not is fantastic to me, because I hate having products available that they can't order and they can see it, because then we constantly get requests for it and we just might not be able to fulfill it. But it's a constantly shifting landscape for me.
and how do the restaurant deliveries Wednesday, Friday, occasionally Tuesday.
Yes.
Are you delivering to your retail customers on the same schedule?
Yes, we are. And that's why we were talking about like number of orders. For us, that's a very crucial thing.
That's the thing, is like number of orders per day or drops per hour, or how do you guys think about it?
So we used to do the deliveries ourselves. That's not feasible with the amount of products we have now. Like the truck was just too small. So there's another farmer who's not too far from us who also has a delivery company, which worked out great for us. But now it's a different ball game entirely, because we're paying a transportation company for the job for us. It's really expensive. So we have to push to get as many orders as we can. So if I know they're going to Ottawa, it's like, okay, call every single person in Ottawa, make sure they get that message, make sure that they're placing their order, which is the other thing with the email reminder, which I'm really grateful for, is good because it prompts them to order, and I'm not stressing out over it. But it's a bit of a circus when we do it. The other side with Local Line too is that our individual orders that come in through our site, our online store, I still log them in to Local Line, as well as farmers market orders. And that's mostly for the packers, because I have to get the packers and harvesters. I have to get them to pick the right amount of food. So we also use it as not just a pack list, but literally a pick list. When you say a pick list, to me, it literally means picking the vegetable out of the field.
Totally.
So it's a very useful thing. So Local Line is a very, very central part of my whole process, whether the customer has access to the platform or not. So an individual wouldn't, but they still will, how can I put this? The individual orders will still have a presence on Local Line, because it's me putting
it in. So just to repeat and make sure we've got it, you've got your restaurants and your retailers, that's going through Local Line. The retailers you got to call because they don't really pick up the habit, but that's going through Local Line. You also, which I'm a little bit hurt about, to be honest, have an online store.
I'm not the decision maker. I just run it.
I'm gonna call the decision maker after
Please
this webinar.
do. I've already started talking, I'm already sweet talking them into switching. So
No, but you've got that store. Customers get on, they make their order. That information also gets put in as an order in Localine, because then at least it's like continuity through your pick list and through your inventory management. Same thing with your farmers market, right? So those are okay. So you put an order in for there, takes the inventory down. Your harvesters and your packers know exactly. All right, I've got my sheet. I'm in the field. I need 60 heads of lettuce or whatever the number is, and then I bring them in. Got it.
Exactly. In terms of how that happens, where those numbers happen, that's where I'm downloading reports. So the first one I would download is the order summary, which I use for the delivery company, as I put it, so that they can see, okay.
And you do that on what day? Sorry to keep interrupting. I really want to nail on the process. So
a lot.
Okay. All right. But let's say you've got a delivery on Wednesday for some of your restaurants and your retailers. When are you downloading that order summary?
Tuesday. So what will happen is I have a cutoff Monday night for Wednesday orders is when they Tuesday is our packing, our picking, everything is done on the Tuesday. And the delivery company gets the route. We send them, okay, you're going to X amount of restaurants. Here they are. They do their route planning on their own. I have no involvement with that whatsoever, but they need a format that we get on Localine for sure. The other thing I'm getting on the Tuesday is the pick list. And I use the pick list for a lot of things. I use it for the harvesting, so that they have full numbers. Like, it's like, okay, we need 50 pounds of tomatoes, go pick that. And we also use it for the packing. So the individual order, okay, so this one wants 10, this one wants 12, give them what they need. So for us, it's a really big deal that those reports work, and we panic if they don't, because there's no way we can pack individual orders. I'd love to do that, but it's so the way the system is running, because the reason why we do it this way is to have the freshest vegetables available. We do it on purpose. Like, we could be lazy. I'm going to say lazy. You could pick onions 5 days before and sell them, and they'll be fine. But we're trying to push that quality. Like, they literally, sometimes they get vegetables that have been picked that morning that will go out with an order. If
so cool. Yeah. And then a slightly different question, and then we'll go to Will. But how do you measure the efficiency of your packing, or how do you think about the efficiency of your packing? You get your list, your stuff is picked from the field. It's now in your assembly line, right? Ready to start going. How much time should that take? Maybe you don't think about it at all, or like maybe you guys care very deeply about, we got this many people at this per hour, we got to pack these boxes. How do you guys think about that?
We have actually timed ourselves on packing everything. How long should it take to wash a bunch of carrots? How long should it take to bunch it when you pull it? If in the well, I call it the farm hub, it's the barn where we park everything, but the hub. So in the hub, we're moving all the time. It's like, okay, we got to get this out. It's not a leisurely stroll through the garden. It's okay, guys, they're picking. While they're picking, vegetables are getting washed and getting packed, and it just rotates. So it's like a team of about 12 people that are constantly moving. It's like a wheel, and it just goes and goes and goes for a good solid 6-7 hours, and then it stops. And that's why we kind of have the breaks in between, because it's exhausting. But
got it. Yeah.
We do it for sure.
Last quick question, same as what I ended with Melissa. What does a successful week mean? What does that look like?
No mistakes. That's a big one. No mistakes.
And talk to me about that. Is it because they're so expensive to fix? Is it then like you got to go give them the right thing or take back the other thing, or you just have an upset customer? Like, what makes those such a huge pain in the ass?
Upset customer is a big one. Chefs especially, because they plan their menu, right? And if we don't deliver, or at least, let's say, I don't know, something goes bad in the field, we'd notify them ahead of time, so they know, like, oh, you ordered kale, sorry, the bugs got to it, you can't touch it. The other thing is packing mistakes also affect the accounting side of things, because as people are doing this, I'm also in the background doing the accounting at the same time. So if they mess up, then I have to go back and change everything, make sure that the customer will come back and pay me the right amount, or that they're aware, or are we issuing credit? And then some customers want a credit, some don't, some just want their product. Okay, so we got to do like a $0 delivery. Like, I'll give you a perfect example. Last week, 24 bunches of scallions just didn't show up at a restaurant. Search me why that happened. I don't know, but it's like, okay, we got to get, they were like, no, we need them now. So it's like, okay, take the smaller truck out. We go to the restaurant to fix it, which happens. It's not unheard of. It's just,
No, it happens. It's just expensive, and it's expensive and annoying, and
good week for me is like, oh, Celine, here are your invoices, and we're all done, and everything's fine, and everybody got what they wanted. Beautiful. I'm happy. The other thing too is number of orders for us is a big thing, because in terms of consistency from our restaurant and retailers, they are pretty consistent. We do notice if they drop suddenly, because it's that noticeable for us. In terms of individual orders, that's a different ballgame entirely. That is like, not just the number of orders, but the size, because we could have 50 orders, but if they're for 5 bunches of carrots each, that's not much for us.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly.
Okay.
I think it depends on the customer from that point of view for number of orders.
Depends. I'd be interested to even look at the local line data and figure out, like, across all our customers, I wonder what consistency there is in average order compared with the time that they have been a customer. You got to think that longer term, like the customers you've had longer are probably more consistent, would be my guess. I kind of know what I'm getting and I get it. Whereas the new ones go through the peak and valley of like figuring it out. I'll try this, I won't try that, I'll try this, I'll try that. And it takes a bit to
100 and 110%.
You think so? Yeah.
We even have customers that will request things. We have a restaurant, it's a vegan restaurant, and they use tons of kale. Like, we can't keep up. We actually have made a deal with them where we've dedicated part of our field to just grow kale for them specifically, because it's a big thing. But they've been a long time customer. We wouldn't do that with somebody who's new, is like, oh, I suddenly need eggplants. It's like, well, good for you, we have some, but I'm not dedicating my greenhouse to that. No
doubt. Okay. Excellent. Thank you.
No problem.
We saved the most complicated for last, no doubt. We'll same set of questions. Let's start with the store. When is it open? When is it closed? Does it open or close? And then when are you pulling that first report for your weekly process? When does pickup or delivery happen? Let's start there.
Can you hear me pretty well?
Yes, this is better for me, at least personally. Yes, thank you.
Yeah. So likewise, our store doesn't close. We accept orders 24/7. We offer pickup and delivery every day of the week. So our process is more daily than weekly. For local lines purposes, it starts at noon. We pull our reports at noon. So we download our order list view, our customers, and our full catalog. And then Gonzalo, who's on vacation right now, has written some code that allows us to pull information from that and put that into a more digestible.
So let's talk about that. Yeah, let's talk about that for a minute. So you guys are manipulating the reports. So every day at noon.
I am too. Sorry, I forgot that.
Sorry. Okay, yeah. We'll come back after and talk about that.
Sorry.
And maybe we just need to make them better, is maybe what I'm about to learn. But so you every day at noon, it's like, all right, give me my orders list of what came in. And then you also said you grab the customer list and the full catalog. And then from there, you guys are manipulating them to fit a format. Is that correct?
That's correct, yeah. And hypothetically, and we're moving towards working with an API, using an API to pull directly towards this website called Airtable, which we conglomerate a lot of our data onto. We're not quite there yet. So this is kind of what our order sheets end up looking like.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of like color coding things that just make it easier for whoever's packing those orders.
What
the
would be an
pickup is
example of what you would color code or not? Like, do you color code the heavy stuff, or what's an example of how you guys?
So the color coding is if you have multiple, it's hard to see, but if you have multiple items, we just highlight it in yellow. So if it's anything but
Okay.
one of each of those items. And then we also color code pickup or delivery. So deliveries are green right here and pickups are blue.
Got it.
And that's just because there's a slightly different, we pack delivery slightly different. We use boxes for those. We do a little bit of warm weather care, pretty minimal, but some warm weather care for those. Pickups are, just in grocery bags. So we use 48 hours as our lead time. So as long as somebody places an order by noon, they'll be able to get it the next day, which is why we kind of start our process at noon. Once we pull those reports, it kind of depends on the particular picker. If they want to utilize the pick list or not. That used to be a lot more of a necessary tool. We recently changed spaces, so our grocery operation and our online operation moved down the street to one level instead of where it used to be on two levels. When it was on two levels, we wanted to minimize those trips up and down the stairs. So we really utilized the pick list. Now it's mostly for like freezer stuff to minimize the time that you're in there. And then we go on, once we get kind of situated, we have our reports. We also print out these door sheets, what we call door sheets, but they're essentially a list of pickups and deliveries. And then on there, we can mark how many boxes each order has. So how many boxes are in the cooler, how many boxes are in the freezer, how many boxes are, dry goods, tomatoes, basil, stuff that shouldn't be refrigerated. So after those reports get pulled, we pack our delivery orders first. We want those packed and ready to go kind of first thing in the morning. And if we have time, we'll get to the pickup orders as well.
On the delivery orders quickly there, Will, do you know how you guys pack them? Is it according to the route and you sort of put them in that like that? Is it by weight? How are you organizing if you're aware, like when everything gets into the truck for delivery, what's the process to get it loaded and what are you loading it by what metrics?
So we use a different route optimization than local line. We don't really have this issue except on produce box delivery day, but we were struggling if we got past the alphabet on so if we had more than 26 deliveries on local line, the route optimization stopped being optimal. So we use a separate one. So the van is loaded for that according to that optimization,
right?
Just depending on the delivery driver's preference. I grab from the left side of the vehicle, so I pack number one right on the left sliding door, and then kind of work back from there. On delivery, produce box delivery days, which are Thursday and Friday, we have 50 plus deliveries each of those days. So that becomes a little bit more interesting in terms of like figuring out what the best time to come back to the store if you need to pick up the rest of your orders. So yeah, we do some data manipulation to just get it into the process we need for the route optimizer we use. And then, so then we, the next day we'll have deliveries packed and ready to go. We usually send those out about 9 or 10. And then we get the rest of the pickups picked or packed in the morning. And then we do a lot of the inventory management on in our morning shifts.
Mhm.
So prior to, like, when our online orders were high enough, we had segregated inventories for everything. So if it was on local line, then it wasn't available to be sold in the store, or that portion of it wasn't available to be sold in the store. What we ended up doing is going to a more integrated inventory system. So a lot of our, like, produce, especially with such a short shelf life, is more fluid and dynamic. So we spend the morning and we'll pull into Excel, we'll pull the our catalog and then just sort by, do a quick sort of here's what we're low on, here's what we're out of, and use that to make sure that we don't have green onions that aren't represented online, that our entire produce stack isn't represented
How do
online.
how do you communicate with all these farms when you need to replenish? So you get all of these orders every day of the week. If I were you, it's like head down, like pack, ship, like go. You pull a report, you're like, oh, damn, we're low on these things. What happens? How often are you talking to these farms? How often are they doing drops? What's the process to make sure that you guys always have the inventory that you need?
We are paired with a grocery store. I don't do the majority of our produce ordering.
Right.
The majority of that is done, aside from our produce box program, the majority of that is done by our, like, produce manager or grocery store kind of side of stuff. But we get deliveries rather frequently. In the summer, most of our farms are here twice a week. One time during the week and one time after market or before market. Encourage before market. So I'm kind of in constant communication with the farmers, but aside from baked goods, bread in particular, we don't put anything on local line till we physically have it in the store.
Okay.
And because our turnaround time is so quick, we don't really run into, like, spoilage issues. We also have, 2 grocery stores that are selling that stuff. So we get a relatively good, we're relatively good at not having stuff go bad on us. The farmers generally trust us in the quantities we order. It's a little funny because we are consignment. They, technically own that product until we sell it to the consumer.
Mhm.
So there's some funny stuff about, like, the Amish, we can't sell their goods on Sunday. And I've talked to them about this, but we don't really observe for local line, because if you're getting it on Sunday, you had to place that on Saturday, and if you're not, they're fine with that workaround. But yeah, really making sure it's a lot of the work we put into the store is inventory management, just because of the
Sounds
temporal
like it.
nature of what we're selling. And then also, because we run the hub option of local line, but we don't give producers access to edit their inventory. We hold that all ourselves. It would just be, it's a lot of work to manage that all ourselves, but it would be, so much of a nightmare to have, 200 plus producers managing each of their inventory, and then having us be responsible for outages or shortages.
Yeah. Great overview. How do you know if it was a good week or not? Same question.
So outages is, a nice metric. We're trying to build a scorecard to have a good idea of sales, but with kind of the pandemic and people figuring out online ordering, we haven't figured out a good baseline number or goal number to shoot at. So we're still in the exploratory phase of that. But just from anecdotal, I can have a general idea if our sales online are good, if we're able to, about once a month, we pull, were we profitable, were we not, how much can the online, essentially pay for within a company. So I have pretty decent metrics on whether we're making money or not, but in terms of ultimate sale goals, we're still figuring that out.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That's a good segue. So I want to get into what I guess will really be just sort of like the last real question or thing, topic to talk about, which is, let's zoom out from the weekly hustle and bustle of get the frickin' restaurant their carrots right, on time. Let's talk about how if your farm is being successful on a monthly basis or even a seasonal basis. You guys might do it differently. Maybe you just look at it annually, which I would encourage maybe against, but it happens. But how do you know if things are working? What reports are you looking at? What anecdotal things do you just sort of feel in your gut? How do you get a sense for that? So let's go back to Melissa to start with that one.
Yeah. So with the way that processing is, we have our processing dates booked out actually through 2023. So I know exactly how many cattle that we will be processing per year. And there's kind of a max, there's a cap on how much we can make based on our supply. So I set a yearly goal based on the number of cattle we know that we'll be processing. Mm-hmm. And then I break that down into quarterly goals because we're a little bit seasonal and we process more beef in certain times of the year than others. And so I try to set quarterly income goals for mm-hmm. myself as well. And then even going down from that, I set monthly goals based on whether we're in farmers market season or we're in off season from the farmers market. But I do try to set those goals to stretch just a little bit. Just to kind of push myself because I'm competitive and I like to do that. So there's that. And
how do you know, sorry to interrupt, do you know if it's a stretch? What are you looking at to even set the goal in the first place? Is it hey, what did we do last year this quarter? Or what is it what are you using for the basis to come up with the goal?
So I know I know my break even cost, what I need to get to make money on or break even on a beef, on a steer. And so I take that, and then if I sell a whole steer, I'm actually going to be making less than if I'm selling that all in retail cuts. And so I try to I manipulate my numbers. I only sell a certain number of those steer shares a year because mm-hmm. you make so much more if I'm selling by the cut. It's also a lot more work. So I try to stretch myself mm-hmm. towards the retail, what I would capture in terms of the retail or the by the cut pricing. I trend in that direction, but I do know if I get, in a pinch, I can always move a steer share if I need to. I always have someone on my waiting list that wants a quarter steer or whatever. So if I get in a pinch, I can move that. But I set my goals.
What are you actually using to run those? What are you actually using to run those reports? Do you have your costs in a spreadsheet? Do you have QuickBooks? And then are you comparing your sale prices from local line, or how are you actually running that calculation?
Kind of all of the things. We have some spreadsheets for our cost analysis.
Okay.
And my husband really nerds out on all of that. And so he that's kind of his thing. And then in terms of our sales reports, it gets a little tricky. I'm probably a little bit selling. We do, when we're selling at the farmer's market, we're not using our local line point of sale, which I should be. We're using Square. And so, shame on me. And so we end up for a really good picture of our actual income, I'm running a Square report.
Right.
Because that combines like all of my local line sales and all of my Square sales all together.
Because you use Square on, like, you have it integrated with your local line store?
Correct.
Okay, all right. So
Yes.
then all that data sits in Square because it also
Yes.
includes the farmers market sales.
Yes.
So you're pulling from Square that has the farmers market sales and your local line sales.
Yes.
That's what
Yep.
you're using as a proxy for, all right, here's more or less what we're getting per cut. You're sort of focusing on the revenue side. Your husband's got the cost side. You guys sit
Yes.
down,
Yes.
plus minus, plus minus, plus minus. Okay, here we go. And now okay, got it.
Yes.
Cool.
Yes. Yeah. So that's kind of our monthly, what we do. And that's, and then we do another revamp. I'm constantly looking at where we are in terms of profitability for the year. Even on a weekly basis.
I was going to say, when you say constantly, what does that mean? Like, when are you looking at, like, weekly?
Weekly, and like at the end of the week, after a farmer's market week, that's kind of like or after a farmer's market day, which would be on Saturday, that's kind of my close of the week.
Right. Right.
And my last big bang for that week. And so I'll sit down and look. I can get a little obsessive about seeing where we are. And I'm constantly like, run a report. Where am I? Yeah. So I gotta simmer down on that.
Okay. That's really great. That's a good overview. Celine, same thing. Monthly, seasonally, yearly. How do you know if you're being successful?
All three. So we do all three kind of reporting, and that's all me. The owners didn't used to do that, but I've kind of made them because it's important. In terms of what do we look at? So on a monthly basis, we're looking for I'm sorry, somebody just walked in. We're looking mostly for what's in season and what's selling. Are we selling enough of what we have planted, for example? So like the tomatoes, it's a very tight timeline. Like, we got to get rid of those now. So it's looking at our sales and measuring against the year previous, like the previous years. So July to July. And we look at that very seriously. We also look at it from a financial standpoint with QuickBooks. Every month there is a financial report that's prepared for the owners, and they take a look at that, expenses, everything that goes into it. My husband and I have kind of built an accounting system that will spread expenses across the different divisions of the farm, because you have to think of it like a pie. So for example, like the restaurant, the restaurant and retailers are a bigger slice, and then we have the online store that's the other big slice. So they take on a bit more expensive, but they're also more expensive to run in certain departments. So we've kind of set it up so that the costs are divided equitably between the different parts of the pie, if I can say it that way. Seasonally, what are we looking at? We do compare season to season. So summer versus summer, spring versus spring. In our case, because of where we are, the climate changes quite a bit. And I don't mean just by climate change. I literally mean the location is kind of like it's an old mountain range. So it can rain a lot, it can be dry, it can be anything. So we really have to look at that. It's like, one year our tomatoes are great. Next year they're watery, gross, and disgusting, and nobody wants them, and they just use them for sauces. So we do compare that point of view. The other thing is the yearly. Oh, yes, we do. Right. So not just with QuickBooks, but it's actually funny. We run the reports through our online store and local line, looking at what's sold the most. It can be telling. It can also be just, oh, we had lots more of that. For example, like, we didn't sell a lot of eggplants. Yeah, but we didn't grow a lot of them. We compare that with our crop plans to see like, oh, okay. And we also look at how quickly they sold out. So
what are you guys using for crop plans? Spreadsheets, or are you using like a farm management spreadsheet?
No, it's spreadsheets, and it's all it's a bit more automatic now, but it's all done manually. We have somebody will sit and plan and look at it, which is why I'm super excited about that report in 2.0, where it shows it's everything's on a bar. I'm like, oh, this is so much easier to read. This is so much easier than me running a report and looking at numbers and stuff to compare. It's much more visually appealing. So
what you're saying is, like, just because you sold a lot of a product doesn't mean that that's actually good or bad inherently of itself. It doesn't matter. What matters is how much did you grow? What was the margin? Like, what was the actual net output on that product on a per unit basis, not just the overall number.
Yes, exactly. The overall number matters when it's a crop that's expensive to grow. So I'll give you an example. Pumpkins are the people love pumpkins, but they only buy them at a very, very specific time of year. So it's a long-term thing. Those things go in the spring, and we have to take care of them for 4, 5, 6 months almost to keep them going. The return on that one is a bit more interesting to see. Like, are we selling all of our pumpkins? And sometimes we don't. Past Thanksgiving, it's harder. Like, people aren't interested in having them. So it's kind of like, oh my God, we've spent all this time doing this. That's a lot of labor costs. Whereas, like, I'm trying to think, radishes, those can come out of my ears. We can sell tons and tons of the radishes, but they're small, they're inexpensive, they're easy to do. Is that a more profitable vegetables for us? Yes, but people still want pumpkins. You know what I mean? It's the same kind of concept we had with eggs. Eggs are great. People want eggs, but they're such a pain in the ass to do. And the cost is enormous, but the demand is there for it. So we might lose money on eggs, but if it gets people in the store.
Oh, exactly. There's a strategy there, right? On a per SKU basis. What's my average number of SKUs per order? And how do I increase that, leveraging some of my loss leaders, right?
Exactly.
I might need my eggs as a way to go and get people to buy more radishes.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's where those QuickBooks reports were, where I started saying, well, we need to know these things, and you guys need to be made aware of these things. So off we did it with QuickBooks, and it's working out okay. We're still refining the system, but it's a good thing to have.
Always, Excellent. Okay, Will. Monthly, seasonally, yearly, you guys are doing daily deliveries. You might be looking at this weekly. You know, how often are you looking at whether things are on track and successful? And if you could also speak to, like Celine did, the different, how you think of and measure the different segments of the business. You guys have the 2 grocery stores, you do online, you do different kinds of sort of setups. If you can speak to how you guys measure the success on each of those.
Yeah, so we actually used to once a month, twice a month, enter all of our line sales into as a bulk sale into the POS system we use for our grocery store, which was a massive amount of work, and very happy we don't do that. So we used to be able to just pull reports through that POS system on a monthly basis. We couldn't do that on a weekly basis because we didn't keep it updated that frequently, but on a monthly basis we could. But now we're able to just do that by pulling, sales reports from local line. We're able to work our payouts again, since we're consignment based, just off of the list view of orders.
Right.
Travis, the guy who handles our payouts, is able to manipulate that Excel spreadsheet for a series of VLOOKUPs and consolidations to get it into the format that we need to do our payouts. Since again, we're not purchasing anything beforehand. In terms of on a monthly basis, we do that kind of profitability. Bill has the right, one of our owners has the right name for it, and I constantly get it wrong, but we do. I essentially run a sales report, and then I compare that to our labor costs, our vehicle costs for that month, any rental fees we might have, and then we try to normalize that to a certain extent, spread out our insurance costs and rent costs and all that. And what our goal is currently, just because we're still marketing and we're still kind of figuring out where our foothold within, as an online grocery store, falls within the local food purchasing in Ann Arbor, our goal is just to build systems that are sustainable at a variety of different levels. So a lot of that is honing our staffing in right, making sure we're not, overstaffing. At the same time, we're not running anybody ragged. So we want to make sure, at $500 a day, we can be sustainable, but we can also scale up our system within, a couple days to a week to accommodate those, $2,000, $3,000 a day sales. And we've got pretty good at that. We're still working on, getting efficiencies correct, making sure our delivery drivers are staffed correctly. Some days I put on both, I back orders and then I take the deliveries, and that's manageable on lesser days. On heavier days, it's not ideal. And then we also pull pick lists, longer pick lists to see what our large sellers are. There are certain things that month to month will always be a large seller. We have a popular local coffee that's going to sell X amount of bags every month, kind of regardless. But then there are some surprising trends. Offal, kind of organ meat has been a really big driver for the online store. A lot of people, instead of calling, 6 different places or taking a gamble at the farmer's market, can just really quickly go up and see, oh, do you have calf liver? Oh, do you have oxtail? And then can order it there. And then certain things that we know we need to have in stock in order to get orders. There's a period of time where our sales took a little bit of a dip, and it was a series of factors, but one of the large contributing ones is our poultry producers are having a hard time getting processing appointments. So we didn't have any boneless chicken breasts. And if we don't have boneless chicken breasts, that person who might have put in a $150 order is, going to look someplace else because they need boneless chicken breasts and whole milk and granola, at least to make the order worth it. So
really interesting. Yeah.
Yeah. So there are some trends we're able to see just through kind of the manipulation of the Excel spreadsheets that we're able to download from Excel. And then on a yearly basis, it's more similar to kind of that monthly process of really just figuring out, okay, we're sharing a building, so we have to figure out what our nested costs are within the larger organization. And then, are we profitable? How can we increase that profitability? How can we make sure we're still flexible and scalable? And how are we making sure that, so we kind of have 4 different legs that online is sitting on, one being the retail sales, one being that subscription produce box, another being wholesale, and then we do special sales, so punchki sales, Thanksgiving, kind of turkey sales.
Yeah.
So having that, making sure each of those diverse income streams is sturdy enough so that if one cuts down, gets really small, if restaurants are having trouble staffing and our wholesale accounts are smaller, we have 3 other streams of income that's able to keep us kind of afloat. And then just making sure each of those 3 streams is still profitable, including that grocery, including that labor hours and those kind of incurred costs. And then we also really do a fair amount of work trying to replicate the in-store experience online. So we do as much as possible to make shopping on our local line site representative of the experience you would have coming into the store. So we don't put everything online. We have a couple of really small farms that might bring, 5 bunches of oregano and a handful of garlic scapes. Probably not going to put those online because they'll sell out before we're able to sell them online. We really try to make sure we hit people figure. We're lucky enough to be in an area where people have been purchasing local food for long enough that they have some farm loyalty. So we want to make sure we don't just have Tantre arugula, we have Tantre and we have green things and we have Sealy and we have Kim's from Slow Farm, because there's somebody who wants green things, but somebody swears by Tantre. So a lot of the work, a lot of kind of our evaluations on both a monthly and a yearly basis is making sure that we're staying true to representing the farms that allow us to manage their products for a while.
There's a lot of really interesting similarities, what you just said. And then there's also some things that are just differences just because of your scale. I mean, the way that you guys think of this on a weekly or monthly basis is sales per day. We're doing it every day. We get $500, we get $1,000, we get $2,000. How efficient is that? Are we overstaffing? Are we understaffing? Those are the levers for you that I don't hear Melissa or Celine talk about so much, but for you, those are the levers that you guys pull on a weekly or monthly basis. But you know, it's the same kind of thing that Melissa had mentioned. There's a little bit of a hedge. There's some downside protection. You know what I mean? If I need to move a steer, I can move a steer. If I need to put it in the store, I can put it in the store. You're still pulling the reports to look at what the top sellers are. You're still thinking about, like Celine, some type of a loss leader. I need those chicken breasts. The chicken breasts get the customer in the door. I can up the order size if I have the chicken breast. So it's interesting. It's the same kind of things, at least for me, as someone who just heard 3 answers, right? Same kind of things. It's just, you know, the frequency at which, you know, you look at those reports as a proxy for success is different. The larger the scale, the more you want to look at it maybe on a closer daily basis. I think we're already over time. I don't know if this went to 2 or 2:30, but I'm always like really already extremely grateful that you guys take the time in the middle of July to even do this. Let's do this. If we're over time as it is, as for any of our panelists, fully understand that the workday must go on. So please feel free to continue. If you have an extra 5 minutes or to drop off, if you have an extra 5, what we'll do is I just want to take a second to address some of the quick questions in our Q&A. And we will keep those rapid fire style. And then this is recorded, so the recording will go out to everybody after, and we can continue on with questions virtually, like through Local Line or through us or whatever. So let's do that.
Sure.
Everybody okay for 5?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Okay. Thanks, guys. Thank you. Okay, so we have a couple of comments. There's one in the Q&A from it says Willow. That says, I'm organizing a new market in our area in a large facility. I need 80 vendors. Can I use your platform to market and feature vendors? Can I use it for marketing strategies? And then there's another comment about welcoming some ideas on how to draw in customers, I guess, to that market. So maybe Will, we'll go to you for this one quickly. I mean, you kind of use Local Line to do these things. So 2-part question. Number 1, how can you feature the vendors? How do you guys do that? You just talked a little bit about the vendor loyalty or some of the farmer loyalty. So maybe you can talk about how that gets represented in the store. And then number 2, what strategies do you guys have to draw people to the online store? Are you doing the weekly email, like catalog schedule? But maybe not, but maybe you can just talk about that.
Yeah, so we're still on version 1.0. We haven't found a great way, besides in the note section, if we once somebody's at the store to say like, hey, Rocky Oaks ground beef is on sale and it's fantastic right now. So that would be something we more do through social media. There was also another question about ordering pick lists. And we had some difficulty with that in the beginning. So what we ended up doing, and you can actually see it on the pick list, is we added these little emojis. So there's like a little apple in front of fruit. There's a little spoon in front of pantry, a little egg in front of chicken. So that's actually in our item name, and those emojis allow us to rate, to organize that pick list once it gets downloaded. Another bonus of that is if we put a particular emoji or don't have an emoji in front of the product, it automatically puts it on top of the store list for the customer. So if there's something I really want to highlight, then I'm able to have that as the first thing they see if they view our entire catalog. It also allows us to, for a pick list, to make sure fruit's all in the same place, eggs are all in the same place, meat's all in the same place, and the type of meat is in the same place. And then to sort by customer, we're able to, or by producer or farmer, we subscribe to the hub option, which when you do your pick list, it has the supplier as a separate column. But yeah, in terms of highlighting, it's just figuring out a way to get that at the top of the list. I think with version 2.0, there's a little bit more flexibility with how that front page looks, but I haven't gotten into 2.0 yet. So Cole might have
We're just saving the best for last, Will. Just best for last, buddy. Yeah.
And then in terms of attracting new vendors, that's a little bit of a chicken and an egg thing. Our owners spent a lot of time when they first started talking to farmers and, you know, convincing them of our model, and that they always say they went to kind of the thought leader, who is one of them is Richard, who's had an organic farm in our area for decades, and kind of once he had a first good payout here, he went at the market and talked to John Getz and said, hey, you should start, you know, you should sell here. It gets customers, the product. But that's tricky because you have to be able to move that product, and you can only move that product if you have those people there. And so it's just a lot of conversations with farmers and really selling the thing that you're doing with the people that you're doing with it, and in the space that you're doing it in. Sounds like you have a pretty nice venue, which will hopefully get a lot of traffic. And if that's the case, then you'll pretty soon have vendors who are asking to be in there. Hopefully, I don't know if that answered the question.
Yeah. I think that's great. And so, I mean, yeah, Willow, we're also happy to connect with you offline, and there's a lot of ways that you can showcase different vendors. So we can even just do a quick demo and get you in a hub account so you can see what that's like as well. There's one last question here. If there are any final questions, like quick ones, folks, please feel free to fire them in the chat there. But what we'll do is go to Melissa and Celine just for the last quick question here. This comes from Tabitha. She's wondering if there's an easier way to select weekly orders out from the previous orders. Okay, so in your weekly process, when you guys get into your orders table, what are you doing to filter for the orders that are placed in that week? Do you filter by delivery date, by the order date? Are you even applying a filter? How are you finding those orders quickly without too much drag on your process? I'll start with Melissa first.
Yeah, I sort by delivery date.
Okay.
Not order date, or I could care less when they place an order. But delivery date is the all important criteria for me.
Yeah, so you go in, you sort by delivery date,
Yep.
Got it, sorted, select all those orders, and then to your point, you're either doing printing the invoice or you're grabbing your pick list.
Yes. Yep.
Celine, is
That's
your
right.
process any different?
Close. It's not the same anymore. Before, yes, I was doing exactly what Melissa was saying, selecting my delivery date, selecting my orders, and then from there running the pick list and everything. Now with 2.0, and I'm not trying to sell anybody on it, I'm just saying it's really helpful that these features are there. Marco knows when he sold it to me, I was like, it's amazing. The different tabs help so much. So you have open orders, closed orders, canceled orders, and then you have the all where you can see all of them.
Right.
For me, anytime we've packed an order and it's done, I move it to the closed orders. So I always have my open list, and it just has my open orders that are going out that week or that whatever. I'm so sorry, that's the phone. The time, it never stops here. But yes, I loved that feature. That was a huge thing for me. That was a huge game changer for me with 2.0. Absolutely.
But so yeah, what that means is you're going just straight to open orders. You're just
Yeah.
like, give my open orders and you're
Yes.
going, yeah, from there. Okay.
I can select, like, for example, I have people that place orders for, let's say, Friday, and right now I have orders that are going out tomorrow. I can still narrow down if I want to see my orders for tomorrow. It's like, okay,
Sure.
I'm building my pick list from this, but I still have the other one. But for me to not have the parchment, because I think I have something like 2,000 orders on local line right now, to not
Right.
have to look at all of them in one screen, especially when I'm trying to do my pick lists or my order summaries,
Yep.
is super helpful. 100%. 100%.
Okay.
Will not go back.
we won't make you.
Thank you.
So Tabitha, I hope that answers the question. If not, then again, please feel free to connect with us and we can help you make sure that you're getting that info super efficiently. Okay. Done.
That's it.
See? Painless.
Of
No
course.
problem. Honestly, thank you guys so much. Thank you. I know how important of a time of year that this is. I know how busy you guys all are. We appreciate the heck out of it. So this is going to be recorded. It'll be up on our website. Everybody who attended and registered today will get the recording. We'll put in some show notes as well, just so folks have like an idea of what the reports were that we were talking about, the order summary, the pick list, the pack list. We'll put some dummy versions in there so everybody can see them. I know our reports are not perfect. That's the last thing that I'll say. Like, if there was a way to make them perfect, like, trust me, I've wasted enough hours of mental energy myself to try to figure out how to make them work perfect for everybody. I don't think it's possible. I think we'll probably just build a custom reports like feature in the future. It's a big thing to build, but we do want to do that at some point. But look, in the meantime, if there's things that we can make better, we always want to hear it. Please tell us. We'll do our best. But yeah, a huge thank you to you guys for helping out today. This was super awesome.
Anytime.
Cool. Okay, we'll end it there. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.